I have had a crazy couple of weeks. On a number of levels. A couple of weeks ago, I bit a corn chip sideways and lodged a piece of corn chip in my gum. Well, it hurt, but I thought I just scratched my gum. Well, a couple days later, it began to become inflamed, and I used a water pick, Teledyne water pick, to get it out. And then it was good. Everything was good. A couple days goes by, I eat a good meal. Afterwards, I decide I'm going to have some popcorn. So I eat some popcorn, and a piece of popcorn kernel gets stuck in a different gum tooth. And my water pick broke that very night. I lost sleep 4 nights total over the last couple weeks because of tooth pain. And so at 6 in the morning, having not slept, I went to Walmart and bought a new water pick and got it out, got the little thing out. A few days goes by, everything's good. I decided, well, I was going to fast for 5 days before Burning Man. And I kind of put it off, and then I had a big meal, not the other day, but a week ago Sunday, and I ate like half a thing of ice cream. I don't usually eat ice cream, but I did. I ate just a bunch of ice cream. And then I swished with some oil that I had sitting in my bathroom for a while. Well, I woke up in the morning, and this whole side, all the lymph nodes were swollen and just hurt. And so I said, well, I'm going to fast. So I just started fasting, and it hurt. And I was getting better. I fasted for 5 days, and I ate some collard greens, and then I fasted the next day as well. I ended up eating that night, and then the next morning I went to the doctor and got some antibiotics. And I'm feeling a lot better, to say the least. But the funny thing is, or the great thing really, is I had this magnificent insight. Now I feel holy, I feel protected, I feel safe on a spiritual level. But the thing is oftentimes I feel like I'm doing battle with unseen forces. But it's tricky because I think if a person's very well postured and holy and gentle, then they receive this protection, this spiritual armor. But kind of in summary, I feel like I was sort of flying and people were throwing poop, and rather than just be above that poop throwing, I had to go down and pick up the poop and throw it onto them. I was getting all covered with poop, dealing with other people's poop, their poop throwing. And so I had this really grand and gentle insight that I really don't have to deal with that stuff. And not only do I not have to deal with it, but I feel like I received some sort of spiritual cleansing, if you will. And part of that was this this idea that my psyche was being roto-rooted or whatever. I mean, I'm sort of using symbolic language here. But part of it was I feel like I had just had some sort of festering negativity. Now, I don't feel like I'm a negative person, but if I'm just acting negatively toward negativism, that's just compounded negativism. And so, even though it seems like an obvious thing to rise above, the moment-to-moment thinking, that was the grand insight. Not only was this whole mess brought to my awareness, but then the moment-to-moment mind process that was leading to these things, I became aware of that. And since then, I feel like I feel spiritually cleansed, and I feel like I'm able to rise above this stuff. Now, as a side note, I've always prayed, come hell or high water for me, may my family and friends and everybody that I love be safe and protected. Because whatever insanity I engage in, I don't want my loved ones being subject to my problems. Well, anyway, I came to this great unrolled understanding, like years of confusion cleansed. Like I feel like I have talent and I pursue mastery, but this was a deep insight that was long time coming. And so I get it all. And I called my mom up the other day, and she's talking about how recently her silver jewelry has just turned black so quickly. And I was thinking, oh man, hopefully it wasn't any of my own like echoing like insanity that led to that. But now that I'm back in blessing, if you will, I feel protected, I feel secure, I feel safe. And I'm really thankful, you know. I haven't gone onto antibiotics for years and years, but and frankly, I was getting better fasting, but it probably would have been another week and a half before I would have been to the point where I could just stop. Because I mean, this is my third day on antibiotics, and the lymph nodes are a little bit tender still. But I can open my mouth. Before I couldn't even open my mouth that much. It was pretty bad. But it was weird because I was fasting and I was sick. And so normally if I'm fasting, I feel like down because I haven't eaten or whatever, lower energy. But it was weird because I was fasting and sick. I feel like I somehow didn't get the, how can I say it? Like, I didn't feel the lack of food. I just felt like I was dealing with this having an infection. And then through it all, for whatever reason, you know, like last year I started smoking tobacco about January-ish. And then I smoked for a little while, and then I was free of it for a month. And then foolishly I got back on it. And then I was just sort of putting it off. And I realized in my heart and mind, I want to be a non-smoker for sure. I mean, for sure. But and I was like, well, before Burning Man, definitely I don't want to smoke at Burning Man. And there's just one more thing. And so today is the third day of not smoking tobacco. And I feel really thankful for it. Because it's a tricky addiction. I mean, I get it. I get how to be a non-smoker. But even just understanding it intellectually and then going through the process of being a non-smoker, you know, for me this time, a big part of it is just not thinking about it. You know, not accepting and entertaining the ideas of smoking, but also not rejecting them or shunning them, just basically just give it no energy, you know, kind of thing. And well, this is day 3, so I'm very thankful for that. Because let's face it, you know, being a non-smoker is so much better in so many ways. It's just been a couple wacky weeks. I mean, it really has. I feel like I just wasted a couple of weeks because if I hadn't bit that chip funny and done all this stuff, I might not have gotten this grand insight, which frankly makes all that insanity worth it because it's so subtle and so personally relevant that, I mean, I'm thankful to have that. If I have to have those 2 weeks chopped off my life for that insight, it's worth it. But I feel like it would have been way better doing yoga each morning of those 2 weeks and eating right. You know, but here I am. I had this grand insight. I'm now a non-smoker again, thankfully, and I'm headed to Burning Man in a couple of weeks. For a couple of weeks, you know, go to the burn, but also helping set up and tear down. I'm very, very thankful. Very, very thankful.